Welcome to the CURES digital show and podcast where we explore the cutting edge of wellness. I'm Kara Sundlin, and you know, we could all use a little improvement in how we cook. Well, the new cookbook, Healthed Up, is actually full of plant-based recipes that are easy to make. It's becoming a quick bestseller on Amazon. It's got great information on gut health, weight loss, and more. And here to tell us all about it is author and certified health coach Janet Fernie, who also had an incredible journey to become healthy. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, well, let's start there. You've written this book because you've taken this journey. You were quite sick.
Yes, I really was. I have a lung disorder that clinically looks like somebody with cystic fibrosis. So it's been quite a journey, 40 years with this.
And I mean, to the point that you were actually one of 100 people studied at the National Institute of Health as someone who didn't have an exact diagnosis. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with you, even though so many doctors were working on you.
Yeah, I wasn't one of the lucky ones that came out with a diagnosis, but we learned a lot about what it wasn't, which was very helpful. Yeah, and you know, being on all those medications, they were just making me so sick. You know, like I was on an inhaled antibiotic because I was becoming so allergic to all of the antibiotics that I'd go into the hospital into anaphylactic shock. And so they were doing it through a nebulizer. And then I started getting like yeast infections in my esophagus. And let me tell you, those are not fun.
Right, right. So somewhere along the line, that obviously took a lot of courage to say, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to try a more natural way. How did that happen?
Well, you know, I heard this little voice, believe it or not, coming back from the NIH. I just sort of went inside. I can't even really describe it. And I heard this little voice say, stop chasing the diagnosis and do what you can to optimize your health. So
don't worry about what it is, just get healthy.
Exactly. So I just started reading and learning, and I was blessed with so many mentors, and went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, became a certified health coach, went to the Hippocrates Health Institute and learned so much about nutrition and food and even lifestyle, like you know, reducing stress and the power of positivity and the thoughts that you think. I mean, so many of us have those like reruns that go through our head, that negative talk, like 80% of what we think is usually negative. So it's sort of switching that up and
noticing the script and that, you know, challenging those thoughts.
Exactly.
Life-changing to know that you don't have to believe every thought that goes in your head, right?
Exactly.
We weren't told that, but I tell my kids that. So this book right here, if you could sum it up, what are maybe a few things in here that the average person could learn? Because you have a husband who loves to eat Oreos.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Every recipe in here is plant forward, but it's also easy to make and very accessible.
Yes, absolutely. And it's also gluten-free. So a lot of plant-based books don't have that other aspect, which is the gluten-free. And for some that are sensitive or celiac, that's really important. So yeah, I think the biggest thing in the first chapter really is gut health, because the foundation of good health starts in your microbiome. So it's really making sure that your gut is well balanced. And a lot of that has to do with getting away from processed foods. So that's the biggest key.
So we're going to weed and seed, take out the processed stuff, put in the good stuff. But for the busy people out there, this is doable.
Oh, absolutely. And I like to do food hacks. You know, like if you've got, and I've got a family member who's a meat eater. We were talking about this earlier, that, you know, there are some people that they thrive on that, and others that, like myself, who needs a more plant-based diet. So I can make a quick, what I call oven fire camp packs, that I use parchment paper, I layer veggies, I layer a grain or a whole grain, I'll put a piece of animal protein for my husband, I keep mine totally veggie and some lovely sauce, and then wrap it up, throw it in the oven, and you've got an entire dinner in one little packet, like that.
And you don't even have a pot to wash.
Exactly.
So this is great, especially, you know, some of us might be having kids who are now telling us, I'm a vegan or I'm a vegetarian. So if you have different eaters in your family, I want to talk about the cookies that are on the table, because the baking season is coming up.
Yes.
And part of Healthed Up is that we don't have to be deprived.
Right.
And you have worked really hard to make these incredible gluten-free cookies,
plant-based
that are
cookies.
plant-based.
Yeah, so they don't have any extracted oils, no butter, no eggs, no gluten. I use a really clean oat flour that's Anthony's. You can get it on Amazon. It's an organic gluten-free oat flour. I use a turbinado sugar, which is really pure and clean, as well as a pure maple syrup. And then I like to play with different recipes. I'm always creating new ones. And it's not about deprivation. We need to be able to have our cookie and eat it too.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just clean.
Yeah,
That's all.
exactly.
And they really do taste delicious. Everyone knows I'm a chocolate fan. So this one is a deep dark chocolate. It has a little bit of a minty flavor.
Yeah.
And you say for the holidays you could put organic candy canes on the top.
Exactly.
All right. So let's just be clear. Dark chocolate is a health food, yes?
Yeah, it is. It's a polyphenol. It's a good gut food.
Yeah.
So yeah, a dark chocolate is actually a really good, I mean, food and mood. There's a lot of people that struggle, especially around the holidays, with anxiety and depression. And so that's a whole nother aspect of this, that, you know, when you clean up your diet and you add things like dark chocolate that don't have the dairy in it, it can really help with balancing the gut.
Mm-hmm. Food is mood is so important, especially for young people. Do you have any ideas for them? Because I think teens are naturally probably more difficult than your husband who likes his Oreos.
Yeah, exactly. Well, making these, you know, shifting and substituting, rather than an Oreo, do a dark chocolate chip cookie. But also shifting those thoughts. I mean, that isn't the whole other aspect of it, is shifting the negative to the positive and decreasing stress and focusing on the good things that you can crowd in will crowd out the things that we shouldn't be eating, the ultra-processed foods.
So we're doing, at the moment, at the time of this recording, I'm doing a detox right now, which you do with people, which you advise, like most of the health coaches, you do this right with someone who knows what they're doing, because if we really want to detoxify and lean out and reset our metabolism, you want to do it the right way, which is good foods and all that. But what you're saying is that you would rather have people focus on eating lots of really good vegetables, good plants, and then we fill up on that. You won't have the taste or the want so much for the other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is the whole point. When you start bringing in and make 3/4 of your plate, at least those, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, those are the things that are going to fuel your body. I always say it's kind of like a sports car. You want to put the premium fuel in there. You don't want to put like the lower grade or diesel, which would completely shut down your engine, right? You want to put the high test, the really good stuff. And that's what I think plants do. I think we can all agree in the nutrition world that plants rule.
More plants, more plants.
Yes.
Now, people will say, I don't have the time or the money for this. So those are obstacles that people believe are real, and they're like, okay, it's so expensive, it's so this. Does it have to be expensive or complicated?
Not at all. Absolutely not. I mean, there are so many ways to incorporate plants. And again, EWG, the Environmental Working Group, has the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. So look at those lists and buy conventionally the less expensive items that are clean and grown non-organically. And then the Dirty Dozen, like strawberries and apples and blueberries, you want to make sure that those get a lot of sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, and those are the things we want to eat organically. So really look at where you want to put your money.
If you are, I guess I always ask people this, it's still better to eat the fruit rather than not, even if it's not organic and it has some, but can you get most of it off at all with washing it?
Not really. Okay. I mean, I think it really gets into the fruit or vegetable or the grain. Whole grains are another one. So glyphosate is a real issue for being stagnant in the gut and can create other issues. So,
well, that's one. I mean, all your recipes are gluten-free, and even if you're not, sorry,
bless you.
Yeah, at least I want to make sure I block. I'm just a little sneeze here, but. One of the things that we've talked about before, people say, well, why? If I'm going to eat like my grandmother ate gluten. But the wheat that we have today is often so sprayed that that's why we're having problems with it.
Yeah. It's overly refined. It's overly sprayed. And yes, that's exactly it. So it's I've had friends who go to Italy and they eat the pasta there that has gluten in it, and they feel fine.
Yeah.
You know, not celiac, but if they're just gluten sensitive.
If they're just gluten sensitive,
yeah,
which many of us are. I'll notice I get bloated, or my rings will be tight. If I went, you know, this weekend I was at a celebration, and so I had some of their cake and some whatever, and I'll notice that if that happens, or if I have pasta, I'll get tired and my face will get puffy.
Yeah.
And I'm not a celiac, but that's what it is I'm reacting to what's in there.
Absolutely. I also have a list of my favorites in there.
Okay.
So things like jovial pasta, or Anthony's you know, oat flour, or the 1 degree organic gluten-free whole oats. I have different products that I've sourced that you can get Stop and Shop, Amazon, any of the general stores, most likely. I wanted to keep it simple, something that anybody could do.
Yeah.
So like I even make a chocolate cake that finally I've got a recipe that I pulled together that is made with, believe it or not, the frosting is made with cannelli beans. So it takes the place of the butter, and you would not know it.
Right, people don't know that this actually doesn't have butter in it either, and you would think, I mean, I know you can't taste this or see it even if you're listening versus watching. Well, it depends if you're listening on the podcast or watching on YouTube, but these are decadent cookies. I actually challenge our director, Wendy, who is one of the most amazing bakers I've ever met. She, I think, would even like these cookies, and she bakes with the real stuff. But so what about something simple? I know you've trained a little bit with Mark Hyman, Dr. Mark Hyman, who is a favorite on Kara's Cures.
Yes.
And, you know, he'll talk about something simple. Like if you just had a big salad every day, you'd be doing a big thing for your health.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how could we do that simply and economically for all the folks who are busy?
Yeah, well, you know, things like at Stop and Shop, they have like Nature's Promise, or there's, you know, some of the more generic brands that are less expensive, but, you know, they make it so convenient for us now. I mean,
It's already washed. Like arugula, I like because it's I don't have to chop it.
Exactly. It's washed. You know, they have pre-chopped vegetables. You know, that's really easy to throw together. And then you have some organic olives on hand. You can just toss it all together. And again, I'm extracted oil free, so I don't do, a lot of people ask me about this.
Yes, you don't do, I mean, because one of the things we know is a healthy oil like olive oil, or some will say coconut oil. You don't do any oils.
I don't do any extracted oils. I get my good fats through the whole food. So rather than olive oil, I'll eat a whole olive.
Okay.
And the reason for that is when you extract the oil, you are getting a heavy concentration of fat, a lot of fat, without a lot of the nutrients. So I'd rather keep it whole and get my healthy fats that way.
What do you cook with?
I cook with vegetable broth. I cook with a little port wine.
Like what if it starts to stick?
And that's the funny thing. So I use a really quality enamel or rock pan, but it doesn't stick. Like I made a casserole last night. It was a plant-based lasagna. And when I cut it all up and put it all away, I just rinsed my pan out to throw it in the dishwasher. There was nothing stuck because there's no cheese, there's no oil. Oil makes it stick.
Okay, all right. So, and again, those recipes are in here if you want to try. And you want it to taste good. So you have a taste tester. I mentioned your husband at home. He doesn't eat the same way you do, right?
No, not exactly, no.
But he likes your food.
He does. In fact, I had my first all plant-based company, like a dinner party. And there were 3 meat eaters and 3 plant-based eaters. And one of the meat eaters said to me, if somebody cooked like this for me every night, I would not miss meat one
Right.
day.
If I had someone like you. But I think for some of us who maybe cooking isn't our strong suit, that what you want us to understand is sometimes plants don't even have to be cooked or very lightly, and they're fast food. A whole food is a fast food. It takes longer to go drive through the drive-thru or order DoorDash than it does to like just steam a couple vegetables, or even if you're buying the frozen ones because they're picked fresh.
Yes, exactly. I love frozen vegetables. I'll put those in my campfire oven packs. They're just awesome to throw together in like less than 10 minutes.
So you put the frozen vegetables right in the parchment papers. That's okay. You don't have to thaw them first.
Nope.
Okay.
Put them right in there.
I want to give an example, like a tropical blue smoothie. My kids would eat this because it's pretty. It looks purple. They don't like it when they come out ugly colors.
They don't like the green.
Well, or I don't know. Sometimes I've noticed if you mix like a chocolate protein protein powder with then spinach. It looks like brown. They don't want that, right?
Swamp, yeah. Swamps, yeah.
So this just has a half a cup of frozen organic wild blueberries. Those are easy to find at any grocery store. 6 chunks of frozen pineapple, again, right from the bag, so easy. Half a frozen banana, easy. 3 organic walnuts. You don't even have to have walnut milk or walnut powder. Just put the walnuts in there.
Yep.
Little lemon juice. And then you have some appleberry power shake powder, which you have another recipe for. But you could maybe use a very clean vegan protein that you buy at the store. Is there a brand that you like? I've used Sun Warrior before.
Yeah, Sun Warrior is very good. I actually belong to a wellness company, and I do sell the protein powders and all of the plant-based powders as well.
Okay, how do people get that from you?
JanetVerney.com, and just send me an email.
Okay, and Janet Verney is VERNEY.com. And again, author of the book Health Up, which is becoming quickly a bestseller on Amazon, especially in the gluten-free category. A lot of recipes in here that are solutions to families who need that. Yes. Really, we all should be eating more like this. But all you do is you put that all in, you blend, and then that's it. And it's a beautiful purple smoothie here. So if your kids like blueberries or your husband or whatever, I'm lucky my Dennis will eat almost anything, but he probably wouldn't make it unless it was really simple. Right. So throwing a few things in a good blender and you're good to go.
Exactly. And you know, my goal was to take some of the basic comfort foods that people know and love, like shepherd's pie or lasagna or plant loaf, and make them simple but make them healthy. So that was my goal. And the plant-based dinner that I served that night was a plant-based shepherd's pie with lentils, and it came out beautifully.
Okay. So you are how old now?
I will be 61 in December. And
amazing.
Thank you. And I feel like 30 most days.
Yeah, so you really have healed. You're not sick anymore.
Well, I still have the condition.
Right.
But I'm not getting the infections. You'll still hear me gurgle or cough from time to time, but I don't feel that lethargic, tired, sick feeling. So I feel really good.
So people want to know, well, how? Why does this matter? And food is medicine in that
oh, yes.
You basically put your body in a healing mode so it knew how to heal itself?
Yeah, absolutely. Every opportunity you give your body, it will heal. I mean, think about even skin issues like eczema and psoriasis and, you know, a lot of
acne for the young people.
Acne, a lot of the autoimmune conditions too. It's an inside-out job. So again, going back to the gut, you get your gut in balance, and a lot of those problems are going to go away.
People are hearing a lot about gut health. They're hearing a lot about the microbiome, and I think a lot of people go, what? What's that?
Yeah.
So we know that, I guess, even from our mood, a lot of our neurotransmitters are made in our gut. So you might be taking an antidepressant to boost your serotonin. But your serotonin is made in your gut. So if you clean up your gut, sometimes you might not need all these other things that you're doing, right?
Exactly.
So what is, to get started with this, I like to say we're the cutting edge of wellness, but also for the rest of us. So what's an easy thing to do? What can people start doing right away to heal their gut and start noticing good changes?
Right. So I would first start out taking out the ultra-processed food. Eliminate sodas and all the sugary and the white flours and all of those things. I would crowd those out, start crowding in more whole, clean food. And then I would also look at the vagus nerve. So when you talk about food and mood, we've got the vagus nerve, which is the biggest nerve in the body that goes stem to stern. It goes from the gut to the brain. If you just Google how to improve vagal tone, how to improve that situation, you're going to come up with all different kinds of like nostril breathing exercises, a yoga twist that we can do. It's all ways that help improve that gut-brain connection, and that would be another area to improve upon.
Yeah, so if it's not that you're deprivation, just start eating more of the good stuff.
Exactly.
And you'll have less room for the other stuff.
Exactly.
Like cookies, because you have a recipe in here for the cookies.
You can have your cookies and eat it too.
Okay, so if you're suffering from chronic gut issues, acne, you're done with the yo-yo dieting, I want to thank Janet Verney. She is here, and her book, healthed up, deliciously indulgent plant-based recipes and more is exactly that kind of cutting edge wellness for the recipe the cutting edge wellness for the rest of us. So thank you, Janet, for being here.
Thank you so much.
You can find this on Amazon. You can learn more about Janet at janetverney.com. And if this is helpful to you or you want to involve your community, we invite you to share this with loved ones. You can follow me on social media at Kara Sundlin. I love to post this content there. And if you're listening on the podcast, make sure you subscribe, like, leave us a review. We appreciate it. Have a great day and be well.